then. Well, the first thing that I'm going to say before we get into anything else, I'm going to say two big thank yous, okay? One of them, the first big thank you is to our audience around the world for tuning into this latest episode of the Simply Inspired podcast presenting champions. This is episode 546, believe it or not. So I really want to say thank you to everyone sticking by me for this long. And the second big thank you is to today's guest because today I am very, very honored to welcome such an esteemed, incredible fighter, Matt Lyall. Now, hopefully, I'm saying it the right way. This man is Shins of Steel, the Giant Slayer. I mean, a multiple time champion. He has achieved incredible things, including seven-time David and Goliath no weight limit Muay Thai champion, pro USKBA Super Bantam champion, PKF Bantam champion. I mean, there's so many accolades. There's probably more accolades than that, but there's so many accolades that this man has today. There's so much that he's achieved in the fight game so far, and there's a lot more yet to come as well. But this is a very unique and inspirational story because we won't only be talking about Matt's own story today in terms of the hustle, the grind, the championship mindset, but we'll also be going deeper into the motivation, the dedication, the discipline that it takes to achieve your dreams because this guy right here shows that anything is possible. He has literally turned his body into a fighting weapon, defeating people many times his size. And yet, despite that, he remains a humble and dedicated practitioner of martial arts. So it really is an honor to be here. And I've also got to say, Matt, thank you because there's two other things as well. It's early in your morning and it's Thanksgiving. So, you're still taking the time to speak with me. Thank you very much.
Hey, the honor's mine. I mean, it is Thanksgiving, but I give thanks for everything, and like you said, everything happens for a reason. So, maybe there are people waking up this morning that aren't as fortunate as having a family to celebrate with or to have a good time with, and maybe you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people that just like to hear other people's situations and say, hey, you know what? I'm not alone. I've been through things like this. I can relate to them, and it makes them feel good. So if that's the case, then we did a good thing.
Absolutely. Well, amen to that. I mean, what you said there, counting your blessings and everything, is super important, but also the difference that we're going to make with this. I also forgot one other thing as well that our audience needs to know. But I recently published my first book as well called The Greatness Within, which is now available on Amazon. That was published at the beginning of this month of November. So anyone wants to get a copy of that, inspiration, motivation, and spirituality in there, and I nearly forgot that, even though it's sitting right there next to me. So there we go. You see, some of us don't even get hit in the head, and we still have that problem of forgetting like what just happened 2 minutes ago. What happened 5 years ago? I'm fine, but what happened yesterday? Don't even ask me.
What
Okay.
happened 5 years ago?
What happened 5 years ago? Well, on this day, this sort of time in the year, I was still doing celebrity photos. I was doing like working with Tyson Fury and Floyd Mayweather and some of those guys around this sort of time. So around roughly speaking, 5 years ago, I was doing that. Yeah, I got that memory. I can tell you dates and things. But what happened yesterday? Whew, I don't know, man. I can't remember. So what happened 5 minutes ago? That's even worse. Anyway, it's not about me, it's about you. It's about you. So we're going to talk about you today. Now, I want to kick things off, yeah, that a lot of people will be hearing about your story for the first time. There will be people who already know about you, but I'm hoping to introduce you to some new people, some new fans, some new followers, all of that kind of thing. That's one of the big aims today. So with that being said, I'm going to ask you a question here. How many fights have you had overall in your career? Is it something that you keep track of? Is it something that you've lost track of? Or what's the situation with that? Just to kick things off with a fun, easy
I
one.
mean, uh, okay. As of sanctioned actual pro fights, it was 18 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw. That's like legit pro fights.
Yeah.
I had two. I actually dabbled into MMA once, well, twice actually. As now, the only problem is once you're pro in one sport, they make you stay pro in all the sports down the board. So I wasn't really, I guess, I wasn't ready for grappling and all that yet. So I just figured, as long as I hit them, that's it. Now, so in unfortunately, in this scenario, the two guys that they picked for me, they have to make sure that they're of that level. So because I came in with that 18-6-1, I couldn't get like a debut person coming out of the amateurs where I could basically practice with myself. But so I ended up getting like one of the top guys. I believe his name was from Philly. His name was Peter Kim. I think he came out of Henzo Gracie's group. He was a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And we fought. Now he's a really cool guy. Believe it or not, he's one of the very first Asian Koreans, because I'm South Korean, and that I met up with. We spoke and everything, and he was telling me, "Oh, I know you're from Muay Thai, blah blah. So I'm gonna stand up and strike with you." I said, "Wow, that's pretty cool." I'm not that I believe everything I hear, but I was like, "Wow, that's pretty interesting." So I was like, "All right, cool." So if you look at the video, it was a while ago, probably like 6, 7 years ago. I think 7 years ago. I think, but I went in there. Like I said, I didn't know anything about grappling. I didn't even have a grappling coach. I just took the fight because I was bored. It was like not too far before COVID. Uh, so I ended up I took the fight. I went in there and he came out with like a good combo, and I just moved around, and then all of a sudden I gave it back to him, and I literally caught him and sent him into the cage, like, and I guess he realized that hurt. So immediately he changed levels and went right to the floor. Um and I moved around, tried to get out of whatever I got of, and he ended up catching me in some triangle or something like that. But whatever. Either way, nothing. It was not a big issue. No one got hurt. Whatever. I shook hands and I took the loss. So then the second guy they gave me was this guy named Dan Cormier, not the guy that you guys know from the UFC, the big guy, but there's a little guy. They call him the Hamburglar or something. I don't know. But he was like one of the better guys. I think he already had like 16 pro fights. So that was kind of stupid of me to do, but I was like, whatever. And yeah, he did the same thing. He got me on the ground, caught me in this thing called the Darcy choke or whatever. But whatever, I didn't care. Like I said, I whatever. But either or, then after that, I went out. So as of MMA, pro MMA, because I didn't have an amateur MMA career, I was 0-2. So whoopee. But anyways, I might go dibbly dad back in, but right now the way management goes, they found a niche, the David and Goliath. Um, it's just nerves. Like I don't know. A lot of people say they're brave and everybody's but it's not like that. If you're real like how I am, you can. I'm one punch, one kick away from getting really hurt. And people don't realize that. Like this guy coming up is 398 pounds. Now, if you do the math, he's a couple pounds shy of 400 pounds, and I'm 115 on a good day. So he's got a lot of weight, and he's 6'9", and I'm 5'3". So if you ever saw us standing near each other, it's kind of odd. Now I know it sounds funny, but believe it or not, the 398 pounds is, I mean, I'm averaging the guys that I fight are close in the 300s. The last one was 350. The one was 230 something. I've had many guys back out though. A lot of pro fighters that I've had back out, and they're big guys and they back out. I've had a couple that were world champions, former world champions, in the pro circuits, WK, ISK champions, and they were 190s and they backed out. Um, but I mean, like I said, I don't look at myself as anything special. I believe that God has a purpose for what I'm doing. So I don't know if, like I said, maybe it's not for me to, because I'm definitely not a rich man. I'm not. I'm real. You know what I'm saying? I live day by day, and so I'm not like a rich guy like that. And I don't blame. I'm not saying that all good, because there's a lot of great fighters in this world that, believe it or not, like anything in life, it's not really what you know, it's who you know. And like I said though, I don't like. There is no hatred towards anybody like that. I never say, "Oh, you had a silver spoon in your mouth. You know the right people. You're not that." I would never say that. If that's the way your cards are played, and if that's the way that God wants things to be, then God bless you. That's obviously not for me then. So I do it for the love of it, because I could retire. Absolutely. I'm 46 years old. So, what I'm saying? I'm not a young guy either. And that's where a lot of people sleep on me. They don't realize that I've been in the pros for a very long time. And I've never had hand-picked fights. So when I was growing up, coming through the ranks, as an amateur, I was 12-0, all 12 by knockout in the first round. Um, then when I turned pro, I didn't realize that without management, because I didn't have management back then. I was just this young kid that said, "Hey, I want to turn pro." Because the kids are thinking, "Oh, we're gonna make all this money." You know what I'm saying? You see all these pros and these big guys, but you don't know all the stipulations that go behind it. You just think, "Oh, I get a fight, I make a lot of money." Well, it doesn't work that way. So I remember my very first pro fight was with this promoter called I think it's Joseph Pulio. He ran the USK. Well, he didn't run the USKBA, but that was the sanctioning body in New York. But he had this thing called Super Fights. He used to hold in Lake Robe, Long Island, New York. And a lot of world champions came from there. A lot of world champions. But anyway, so my debut. Now remember, I came in at 100, and I think back then I was like 104, 105 pounds, and my debut was against Dave Buglioni, which is if you, he might still be around. Like if you Google him, I don't. I mean, I know he's an actor or something like that in movies, but I know he doesn't fight anymore. But either or, he was 20 something years old at the time. He was the welterweight champion of the world. Okay, so we're looking at probably in the high 20 pro wins. I don't think he ever had one loss. And he was cleaning people. So he was like a Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? He was knocking everybody out in the 140, divisions. So that was my debut. Now you sit there and you go, wow, how did the hell that happen? You're 105 pounds, debut, just came out of the amateurs, never one pro fight, and I'm sitting there banging heads with the welterweight champion of the world. And the funny part is that we went to the decision. Now I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm honest. Okay, Dave was nice. Okay, if he wanted to send me, what I mean, if he wanted to put me in the La La Land, he definitely could have done it. Because he gave me enough. He gave me enough white flashes and standing eights that I think the refs just gave up on the standing eights. He just like wow. But the point being is that back then it was different. We didn't have all that crazy sanctioning. Like they weren't as strict, if you understand what I'm saying. They kind of just like wanted to make the matches, to sell the tickets for the promoter to make the money. State athletic commissions were a little different. You know what I mean? It was more on the lines of, well, it's kickboxing. MMA wasn't really a big thing back then. They were, as a matter of fact, mixed martial arts was more of not really even mixed martial arts. It was kind of like just jujitsu intramural shows. So even some of the name people that probably like Matt Serra and those guys, okay, those are pioneers back then. But back when I was fighting, and pro and starting, these guys were just, I mean, some of the guys were, just intermission shows. And I'm not taking anything away from them. Don't get me wrong. They're legends. They did their thing. I'm just saying this is what the facts are, though. You know, um,
But
you
champ,
know,
I don't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut in. I don't mean to,
no, go
but
ahead.
there's a really good point you've made there, though, that I think is really important to touch on, right? And that is, I've interviewed a few of those guys from like the very early days of MMA, like Shannon Rich and some of those guys, who were doing this like when it wasn't even legal, and then it became legal and all of this. And one of the conversations I've had with those guys, with him and with a few other guys, is that there's a very different motivation to do it then when there's not that guaranteed wealth and being on TV and all of this type of stuff. I mean, it's not guaranteed now, but there's much more of kind of a path you can walk down that you know where it's going to go. Whereas, like when you were doing this, you would have had a very different motivation, which is something I think is really cool about you. Is you're obviously challenging like yourself. I mean, you're obviously competing with yourself in some way, and we'll talk more about that later on. But what was your actual motivation in the very beginning to actually be a fighter in the first place in that era when it wasn't like as big as it is now? Because that's very important for young people to realize that you're obviously doing something for the love of doing it, and you're obviously doing it for very different reasons than these like materialistic reasons we have now. So I'm guessing you have a different view of living a successful life. But my actual question is like back then, I mean, who actually inspired you to start all of this? Who did you look up to? Let's talk about that kind of thing, please.
Well, I mean, okay, that's actually a good thing that you were bringing up. What started now? Me being such a big, tall guy. No, just joking. Um, being because I'm so small, all right, and that I'm of the Asian descent. Okay, I was. If you notice, the last name is Lyall. That's actually Scottish. So I was adopted. So I really don't know my biological family. So I was raised, and I'm not saying, oh, sad for me, but I was raised in a predominantly white neighborhood type of thing. And so I was always that odd child out. You go into school, your mom and dad don't look like you, no one looks like you, you know what I mean? And the first thing that most people are, they're stereotype. You see an Asian guy, all of a sudden you're thinking, Chinese delivery guy. Whoa, they don't speak English, even though I speak quite well English. As a matter of fact, I cannot even speak Korean, which is kind of crazy. But either or, it shows you. So I was always picked on. That's the problem. So I'm not saying that I'm sad because of it, but the point being is that I was always picked on. I was always picked last. If somebody played basketball, I was the last one being picked. One of those things. So as a young kid growing up, I understand like a lot of concepts. If you're a bad person or you don't deserve something, then I can understand you not achieving it. But when you're trying hard, you're always going by the rules, you're always trying to do the same things, always trying to fit into society, fit in with your peers, but yet just because the way you look, you're not getting a fair shot at it. It hurts as a child. It's hard to understand that. Like, why is it me? Why did? And of course, you sit there and as a kid, you blame God. Why do I have to be born? Why do I have to be Asian? Why do I have to look like this? But then again, if I was raised in Korea, I'm sure it would have been a different ballgame. But either or, so because I used to get picked on and beat up all the time, that's why obviously I got into the martial arts. Now I wasn't one of those guys that said, "Oh, I want to go around beating everybody up." So don't think that I was like, "Oh, I'm going to learn to beat up people," or anything like that. I just thought that if I got good enough, that people would leave me alone. I wasn't a confrontation. I didn't like fighting, so it wasn't like a confrontational thing that I wanted to do. I just wanted you to leave me alone. Stop picking on me. Stop. Making like guys that were less, in I guess society, they felt, they kind of, well, if I pick on this kid, then I'll look better to my friends. You know what I mean? I used to get that. Or if some guy liked a girl, he would actually just out of the blue start picking on me, thinking that I was going to impress the girl. When meanwhile, it didn't even impress her, but yet I got the shit stomped out of me for no reason then because he didn't even get the girl he wanted. So I was like, wow, that kind of sucked. But either way, so I learned that way. As I got older, I realized that that was completely wrong too. You know what I'm saying? In life, getting people's approval, um, you'll always fall short. You really will. No matter what you do in life. And I always want to try to give people that message that nobody really cares in this world. And I'm not going to lie to you. They don't. Even people your own blood sometimes will they'll tolerate you. They'll accept the concept that you're blood. Okay. But sometimes there's a lot of animosity between your own siblings, your own people, your own family. So, and that's as close as people to you. Now, imagine people that aren't, what I mean, there's no ties to you. You have acquaintances. Obviously you don't burn bridges behind your back because you don't know if you're going to walk across those bridges again. But nobody really cares. They don't. Have you ever noticed there was an old test that I saw somebody do one day, and they said if you really find out who really cares about you in life, don't call anybody, don't text anybody. See how many times your phone calls, and see how many times people text you. And those are the people that are thinking of you. That if you're not answering them or you're not talking to them, those are the people that actually say, "Hey, you know what? What's Liam doing today?" Because you'll be surprised how little that phone texts, how little that phone rings. You know, and those that you think that you're friends, a lot of times, believe it or not, you got to always ask yourself, "What's in it for me?" Type of scenario. So if a person sits there and praises you and gaslights you and all that, usually there's something about you or something that you have or somebody that you know that they find interest in, that they want, that they feel that it's going to better them in some way. So if you really look at it, most things in this world is just kind of stimulated by a "what's in it for me" type of thing. And if it ever gets to the point where you no longer have anything as an asset for that person, you become a liability, and you watch how fast the attitude changes. They don't want to deal with you. They're not going to call you no more. They're not going to think about you. So I've learned in my life that fighting is not for something that I care about whether they like me or not. You know what I'm saying? Like you have an aspiring, blogging. Now you're an author. Well, obviously you might have been an author before, but now you're getting an author. So I'm perking his book again. But you sit there and you look at like let me tell you something. Even if you got the number one bestseller, okay, on the bookstores or Barnes and Nobles and all that, there's still going to be somebody that has something stupid to say about you. You're going to still get some type of comment that's going to be negative. There's still going to be something that, and even if your book is like literally perfect, okay, somebody's going to say something about it. Well, I don't like the cover, or maybe you need to do this, or you know what, Liam this, Liam that, because you're never going to get that 100% what you're looking for, what you think you're looking for. I've learned in life, okay, that because you're never going to get that, if you can have one day that you can look in the mirror and say, you know what, Liam, I'm enough. I've accomplished everything I really want. I'm sitting here. I got my own podcast. I got people that know about me. I got an actual book that a publisher actually found interesting enough to publish. Because you got to remember something. No one's good unless you pay them a hell of a lot of money and they don't give a shit. Most of the people in the world, if they're going to put you on something or do something where their name is tagged or adjusted to you, means that you must have some type of quality to you that they want to be known near you. So that means your publisher must say, you know what, this is a pretty good book. This author has some type of talent. You know what, I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to see where it goes. And that means somebody had a little bit of faith in you. Now, you also got to remember something though. They're looking for that ROI. They want that return on investment. So of course, what I'm saying, if your book doesn't sell and it doesn't do well, then they might not be knocking on your door for the second issue. But the point being is that they're giving that chance because you have that little light that they're looking at. So I look at, what, if Liam can look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm enough. I've done so much in my life now, no matter where it goes, whether people hate me or they don't, but they have to know me. That's the difference. So you can like Liam's book and you might not like his books. But if somebody says, do you like those books? They know who you're talking about, though. You see what I'm saying? You're not going to them. You see, you're not talking about their books. They're talking about your books. So you became valid enough that you either pissed somebody off or somebody came out to buy a book. And that right there should be enough for Liam. Because Liam, you know what? When you were a kid, one day you must have sat there and said, you know what? I got something I want to write about. You know what I'm saying? And that took a lot of effort to even get to that point. And you had to do your due diligence to even find a publisher. And you had to do that because I wouldn't know how to find a damn publisher.
I got to tell you something there. I got to tell you two things, okay? First of all, they're incredible lessons that you're sharing. And yeah, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what looks back at you is the most important thing, okay? I've been saying that for years. Two things. When I was in school, I was very dyslexic. So I was actually told I would never read or write to a good standard at all. And so, it's similar to what you're saying there, but from a different point of view. And that was the first thing. And second of all, with this book, actually, I did it differently. So I actually struggled to get a publishing deal. So I set up my own publishing company and published it myself. And then I'm now publishing other books for other people as well. But I was lucky because I had support. So the guy who wrote the introduction for this is a BAFTA winning screenwriter, you see. So he wrote like the introduction of saying, this is why you should read it and all of this kind of stuff. So he endorsed it. So I was able to then do it differently because it's got that major endorsement, which not many people get. So he's written films with like Orlando Bloom and like loads of famous like scripts, for movies and stuff. So he endorsed it, which is really cool. And he used to be a martial artist before he was an author, by the way. So his name's Jeff Thompson. You can look him up. He's a really cool. He was one of the top ranked fighters in the UK and everything. So there's a whole other story there. But going back to you, what you're saying about like when you're looking in the mirror and when you're what's looking back at you and this kind of thing, it is the most important thing. And I think that is something that this generation now they miss. Like I'm in my 20s, right? Okay, so we miss a lot of people my age. We miss this stuff. People are going very much
You're in
for
your 20s
yeah.
and you're
Um,
already publishing, making you're your own publisher and you write books. Bro, I'm telling you, Liam, I should be making a podcast at you. That's actually very, very impressive. Most people at 20 years old, they're just realizing what they want to do in life, and yet they have no motivation to go get it yet. They're still like kind of like 1 foot in the water, 1 foot off the land. That's impressive. That's really impressive.
uh,
Most guys, before they go in a certain way, they're in their 30s, early 40s, and then the sad part is they start slowing down because you get tired. And then
yeah.
once you're in your 50s, you got all this knowledge, but yet it's like, I'm too tired to go after it no more. And that's where that old saying they say that life is wasted, experience is wasted on the young.
Yeah, youth is wasted on the young. Yeah, well, I've had quite a varied life. I mean, I used to do celebrity photos, so I've spent a lot of time with these guys. He's like we're talking about fighting now, like Floyd Mayweather. I've met him, Roberto Duran. I met him, So like in my early 20s, I kind of got an insight that there was another way of living. Then I was very successful in photojournalism. Then I came out of that. I did actually did network marketing for a while, believe it or not. I was quite successful with that. Then I moved into coaching, and now I teach people about like the subconscious mind, and I work with helping people in that way. But and I'm a public speaker, but it's not been like a thing like that. It's been like a roller coaster. It's been up and down. I heard actually one of the guys who helped me when I was a bit younger. He was also in the States. He said to me that it's like jumping out of a plane and building a parachute as you fall. You don't have the parachute. You've got the different pieces and you're putting it together as you fall. And my life has very much been like that. So it's been a lot of blessings. Statistically, it's not very likely to happen, which is why I believe that something bigger, whatever name you want to use, is helping me on this journey. I've definitely hit rock bottom several times, and the reason I'm in this country now, I'm actually in Cyprus now, so I'm like next to Greece. So it's kind of like people in the US, you go to like maybe Florida or Hawaii, kind of, I had enough of the rain over there where I come from. But so even the reason I'm here, I hit rock bottom 2023, came out here in 2023. I've been out here 2 years, so it's always been a bit of a roller coaster. But at the same time, it's helped me to uncover what I want to do faster. But anyway, I appreciate the kind words coming from a guy like you. I mean, that's a real compliment because of everything you've achieved. Now, the other thing I got to say though is you said you were 46 years old earlier, and I was like, whoa, I was thinking this guy's probably like 32, 33. I mean, age is just a number. So I've also got to say, what would you say about the mindset of still competing to such a high level at the age you are now? Because it's one thing to compete for a little while and do well, but it's another thing to stay consistently on the top of your game for like so many years. That takes a different type of mindset. What do you think of that, champ? That
Well,
side of things.
to be honest with you, this is the way I look at it, and this is what comes back to you got to look in the mirror. If I go by what the doctors have told me, or if I go by what the athletic commissions have told me, if I go by what the average person will tell you, well, they're going to tell you to stop. They're going to say that you don't. I mean, you have your advocates, the people that talk good for you, and they'll sit there and say, "Oh, well, you got accolades that go far enough. You know all these people. I mean, you've been back in the day. I've been. Let me tell you something. Half the people that you've known, like Ray Longo, the guys that teach Chris Weidman, all these guys, stuff like that. These guys, I remember I was like on their first amateur fight shows when they were in Mineola in Long Island, New York. You know what I'm saying? And his top, as a matter of fact, Ray Longo's top amateur fighter at the time was Chris Wagner, Chris the Cannon Wagner, and he became the WK, I believe, world champion for kickboxing. And then now he's a successful. I think he's the United States representative for WK now, but he was also a referee for a long time. But these are guys that, like I said, all these pioneers of actual fighting. Orlando Rivera, he was a light heavyweight champion of the world multiple times, and he turned to boxing. Uh, Boxing champions like Livingston Bramble, who beat Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Okay, I used to train with him personally in the Virgin Islands because I used to live there too. So I've learned from many, many world champions of all different aspects to get where I was gotten. And yeah, a lot of people say 46 years old, bro. Why do you need to be doing it? And let alone why are you fighting people that could kill you? And I'm saying because weight divisions are for a reason. I get it if I was the size of the big guys beating up everybody smaller than me, that's one thing. But I'm on like the bottom of the totem pole. You know what I'm saying? Like Manny Pacquiao and those guys and Mayweather, they're in the 140s, 50s. Those guys are considered small, and those are big for me. You know what I'm saying? Even featherweights in boxing is 122, stuff like that. 122, I could never even see 122 in weight. I can't get that high. So I'm very lucky if I hit 115 and if all my clothes on, maybe I'll touch 118. If all my clothes standing there, with a Gatorade in my pocket, hiding, but that's about it. But I look at it like, okay, whatever. I don't need to hide behind any of that or anything like that. And nobody's forcing me to do this. So there's no money like that involved in it. You know what I'm saying? I've been blessed by God to have a lot of sponsors. I'm one of the only athletes that's had that. I mean, that I know of. you know what I mean, on a local level. That's not like a Nike type of thing endorsements or Monster endorsements. But even most athletes don't get that in the fighting. Like they'll get it through the organization that they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like that organization's sponsored by it, so they become, like an animal that has to wear that clothes. But I mean, I've had probably over 40 something sponsors, and they're active sponsors here and there. From the craziest thing in the world. So, believe it or not, just recently, if you've seen my videos, I'm sponsored by a lot of the politicians here in Atlantic City. So we just had the election coming up, and I was actually pushing the mayor, the person that was going for mayor, the uh, council, council at large people, the people of the ward districts and stuff like that. So, usually they don't get involved in anything that has to do with pugilistic sports, but it was just because of the fact that, a lot of people are not necessarily interested in the sport, but I guess maybe more interested in what the person's doing. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's special, but it's like you're in. I mean, proof's in the pudding. You're in New England, right? You're out there, and you said you're in Greece in that area, so you're definitely in Europe. How's that? And that's on the other side of the world. So if you even heard of me, that right there is enough to me look in the mirror and say, holy shit, because you're not, I'm in Atlantic City, New Jersey. You're not like in Margate or Ventnor or one of the cities next to me. You know what I mean? You're on the other side of the world.
I
So
heard of you. Sorry, I gotta cut in again. It's true. I heard of you when I was still in the UK, basically. So like I'm from Wales, so it's um, more similar to a sort of Ireland in the culture. It's like that kind of thing. But anyway, the point is, I was over there and I actually heard about you. I think it was through Street Beefs. I mean, it was a while ago now because I've been trying to get you on here. I reached out to you, like I said, once maybe twice. And listen, like I said, don't worry about it because everything happens in God's timing. So I got no issue with that. And this year I wanted to reach out again. But I was just thinking to myself, oh yeah, Shins of Steel, and I saw this guy, and I think you were fighting like a bigger guy then, or I can't specifically remember what it was, but I just know it was to do with Street Beast. And I thought, you know what, this guy just has something special, but it wasn't that. It was just like your aura. It was just like the way you were walking around, and it's gonna sound really weird, but I mean this hand on heart, and you just had like a glow, you had something, some sort of spiritual vibe. And I was thinking, you know what, this guy is not like your normal fighter that you see
that's
every
exactly
day. But it,
what I say to
yeah,
you is that sometimes I even ask myself, like, this is not for money. I'm risking my life doing it, and nobody really cares. So if I get hurt and I'm in the hospital, nobody's gonna line up and pay my bills and sit there and say, okay, we're covering your rent today. No one cares. They'd be like, oh, that whoops, you should have never did that. But all right, swipe right on the phone and go to the next page. And that's exactly what that'd be. And I'd be the one sitting there in a wheelchair. But I look at it like there's something that God wants out of it. And that's the reason why I'm doing it. And like you said, everything happens for a reason. So yes,
yeah,
because of the fact that I can't really find anybody my size that wants to fight. In the pros, you have to be within a certain level for them to even sanction it. Um, so I was able to find a platform at the time, which became from Chris Wilmore that owns Street Beef. And Chris is a great guy. Him and his family are great, great people. And they've had a pretty cool story themselves. But he built that fight club on his own, and for many many years he had a lot of resistance too, and a lot of issues. But it's a well known thing. I mean, believe it or not, as crazy as it sounds, it has well over 4 million followers active on platforms. So it's literally a household name. Like I bet you more people, average people, you know what I'm saying, that you can walk on the street and say, hey, have you ever seen on YouTube the Street Beefs thing? The guys beating each other up in the back, and or can you name me 3 or 4 UFC champions? They would probably tell you more of the UFC, the Street Beefs than they would the UFC.
yeah.
So it's definitely got the numbers, and so it became a platform. So I went out there and I spoke to them. I told them that what I thought maybe this David and Goliath thing would be interesting, and he was one more was down with it. He's like, hey, if you want to do it, it's their platform. Let's go. Let's see what happens. And they get me an opponent. The first one was a guy they called Wicked One. I think it was Dan Schmeckler or whatever his name was, and he was 135 pounds and I was 110, I think. And now, no, according to a sanctioning body, there was no way we're fighting either because that's like 20 something pounds different. But they let her ride, and I mean, now here's the cool part. During that time, as years went by, and that's the other thing about the Shins of Steel. Um, I wasn't always with that, so I don't want you to think that like because probably if I would have had that back in the days, it would have been a different ball game. But God, it wasn't that time, and I believe that maybe because I was younger, if I would have had any type of success, I would have turned out to be a different type of person, and it might not have been a good person. You know what I'm saying? That I don't know, but I know that obviously it came later in life. Um, but I do know that it came later in life where I know I'm a lot smarter, I'm a lot mature, and I'm a little more realistic in life of what's important and what's not. And that's where this basically what I'm doing. Um, So, anyways, they gave me that. We fought. I hit him with the very first kick, and like I saw his facial features, like it. He didn't really want a second one. So during that time, I obviously could have just went off and started, elbowing, kneeing, and doing that, but I didn't feel that threat. If you understand what I'm saying, I knew the fight was on its way done, and I sat there, and this is where, like I was saying, is different. Anybody would want a highlight reel in front of 4 million people. Um, I look at it like, no, he's a human being. He's in there for a reason. He's in there for his own things. And like I said, no one cares. So why would I hurt this boy? Why would I hurt any person when I didn't have to? It wasn't like he was attacking me anymore. He was hurt. So I just, I ended up giving him like one or two more hits, but I mean, to the leg, you know what I'm saying? But not, I wasn't punching him in the face. I don't think I hit him once towards the face. I didn't throw a punch at him, but to hit him in the face. I didn't elbow him. I didn't, you know what I mean? There was no highlight reel. I just wanted to end the fight and leave. But and a lot of people are like, why'd you do that? That was stupid. You should have just cleaned them. But why? There was no reason for it. I know I won the fight. So, I just do what I had to do, but it was more like not to prove to the world that it can be done. Because I mean, okay, I'm not saying he was the best fighter in the world. You know what I'm saying? He's not like a rotating number one, whatever. But, you're still human though. You still got feelings. You still got family that loves him. You still got things that are just as important that these other people have. So the only difference is he has a person that doesn't want to hurt him either. So I got the win, I got the belt, and the David and Goliath was born. That was March 5th, 2022. And from that point on, I said, you know what, go. I'm gonna see how far this goes. It's gonna be like basically a 110 pounder versus the world and see where it goes. But it's not about me trying. And here's the thing: it's not about me trying to prove to the world that I'm the toughest guy in the world. I'm not. Let me tell you something. I'm one punch, one kick away from getting hurt. A guy your size, Liam, and you might not even be a pro fighter, but I guarantee you have more than enough power in your hands and your size because you look like you're probably about a buck 70, 180. So
Around there, I think. Yeah, yeah.
there you go. So I can tell you right now, what I'm saying, I'm good. I can gauge people pretty cool. I mean, just looking at you. So if you have more than enough power that if you hit me in the chin, I'm sleeping. That's just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm the size of like your average fifth grader. You know what I mean? So I'm not a really big guy. But the point being is that you know I know that God wants something important out of this, and I truly believe, almost like what you said with the aura. I do believe that it's not even about going out there and fighting people. It's about being on a platform to be seen. And then you notice, like when we're talking, we're not even really talking about me fighting this and this, and we're not really even talking about the guy I'm coming up and fighting because it's not really important to me. It's really not. It's just if it wasn't for the David and Goliath, you wouldn't have known of me. We wouldn't be talking right now. So if
Yeah.
I was sitting there preaching God or preaching goodness or things like that, you really, I guarantee you, I wouldn't be on your thing right now. So you look at God does things sometimes to get people's attention, and unfortunately, in this world nowadays, it's money, sex, drugs, and violence. If you really go on social media, that's pretty much all you're seeing is violence, sex, drugs. Just crazy things. But anything crazy gets views, and you know that it's crazy,
Yeah.
but it's true. So I mean, it's not like I'm doing that as a. There's nothing fake about this. No, that's the other thing about it, and that's what also makes it. What's genuine about it is because it's real. Like everything you see me kicking and bending and hitting with my legs, that's real. That there's no AI. There's no uh sound effects. There's no people banging on things behind the scenes to making it look. That's legit bone on something. Let me tell you something. People in Atlantic Care here, I think I've been in the hospital a lot more times than most human beings in their lifetime have ever been in the hospital. They know me by name basis, which is kind of sad. They're like, "Oh, Matt, what are you here again? Let me check. Do we need to take an MRI? Do we need to take an X-ray of your leg? What are we doing today?" So there's a lot that goes behind everything that does, but like I said, it does do that. I mean, the average guy that even my sparring partners, they're coming in at 250, 100. I mean, they make you look small. And I can at will, if I really want to, even with pads on, which I'll perk one of my sponsors, HK USA. They're actually from your place in United Kingdom. The HK is from there originally, and then
Okay.
yeah, then they came over.
That's cool.
Uh,
That's
uh,
cool. We're going to mention those, Matt. I'm going to, in a minute, later, shortly, I'm going to mention your sponsors and the people
yeah.
who've helped you. But before we do that, I got to say, yeah, I mean, the whole Shins of Steel thing, right? I mean, I've literally seen you kicking like steel, bars and like just absolutely crazy stuff. And that was one of the things I saw quite early on. And actually, it makes sense now then, because I would have heard about you quite early on in the whole David and Goliath process. So that actually makes more sense to me in the timeline. Okay. Also, just so I don't forget, by the way, what you said there about the type of person you've become is 100% true, and the message that you're spreading. And actually, even if somebody's really famous, yeah, but they don't have a good way of being, they don't have good values and stuff, I won't deal with them because, I don't want to endorse that type of stuff. I only, whether somebody's famous, okay, that's fine. Or if they're not famous or whatever, it doesn't matter. If there's somebody who's making a difference in that type of way, I class you as famous because, your fights are going around the world, but, you're using a good message with it. Anyway, back to what I was saying, the shins of steel thing. I mean, this is one of the things I really want to know, and I know in like Thailand and these other places, the guys do this. Like I've seen people kicking trees and tires, and breaking a leg and regrowing it and all this type of stuff. But is that basically what you're doing? You're like breaking the bone and like rebuilding it type of thing by kicking steel. You're actually like damaging your leg to that degree. I
Yes,
mean, how does it
mm,
work?
yes and no. Obviously, scientifically, they're talking about microfractures and how the bone rebuilds, which I'm sure there's a lot to that, and that does make sense. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but the thing is with me is I'm not gonna lie to you. During COVID, when we had all that time, to do nothing, and everyone was getting paid, your stimulus checks and all your COVID money.
Yeah.
And it's not like it was our fault. Like even when I was working at that time, my job shut down. It wasn't considered like those food places that stayed open, so I couldn't go to work. So I was training, and it was weird how God. One day I just had this like epiphany type of thing. Yeah, I woke up and it was like, you know what, Matt, you're small, you're little. You're not gonna sit there. You got no reach over these big guys. So what can you do that just be different? And I said, I was telling myself, what? Imagine if it's like a gun, okay? A bullet. If you look at a bullet, it weighs only a couple ounces, and if I took it and you took one and we threw it at each other, maybe sting, but it's gonna bounce off you and do nothing. It's the velocity that comes at you that does the damage. So I started thinking, you know what? If I'm fast enough and I don't get hit and I hit people, it doesn't take that much to hurt somebody. It really doesn't. If you right now get a eyelash in your eye, it's gonna, what I mean? It's gonna hurt. You're human just like me. It really doesn't matter. So I said, it's most of it's intimidation factor. Like you don't want to, you ever had it where you don't really know if you can really beat somebody up or not, but yet he looks scary. You're like, yo, this guy looks scary. Well, you never know, but he might be more scared of you than you are of him, and that might be his whole thing of him being looking scary on purpose, so he doesn't get tested. So I started sitting there thinking, what, the proof's in the pudding of anything. You're gonna know whether you win or lose, no matter what you do in life. Okay, it's like you either write the book or you don't write the book. But I guarantee if you don't write the book, you're 100% guaranteed not to get published because you don't have a book to publish. So I would rather write a book, not get published, have the publisher critique me and tell me what I did wrong, so I learned. And guess what? I'll have a book sooner or later. And I basically did that in fighting too. I said, you know what? I've lost against world champions. I've never fought scrubs. That's the one thing I say. And anybody that knows me in the world, they will testify to you that I've only fought top tier people, the best of the best. And I took losses because I was too young at the time fighting them. You know what I'm saying? In the world of fighting, you have what they call prospects or opponents. Opponents are people that basically they just, I'm not going to say pay or sign up, but basically they're not looking to win. How's that? You know what I mean? The fighter might think that he's going to win, but the promoter, the matchmaker, and they handpicked you. You know what I'm saying? You most likely are not going to win. You know what I'm saying? So the prospect is the one that they're going to want to win. They're going to push him. And the reason usually on like that is based on what's in it for me. If the promoter knows he can make money on you, if he knows you're a hometown person, which means you're going to sell more tickets, he's going to push you. He's not going to push a guy from out of state that nobody's going to come and follow him and nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? He's going to push the guy who lives 2 blocks down the road, who his mother, brother, cousin, sister, and every single person that he grew up in school is going to come and see him fight. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If you hate that, that's your problem. Just like the guy with Jake Paul, okay? Everyone's like, oh, he's not a fighter. Listen, he might not be a fighter, but I'll tell you something about Jake Paul. He is one hell of a businessman. That man from kids, he did the YouTube thing. He pushed himself up. I'm sure he's had the same trials and tribulations that we have in life. Not everybody liked him. And, but somehow he found a niche. He got the people during the time that they felt it was right for them to do the niche. And whatever happened to him, I'm not going to say other things because I don't want to get in trouble. But what I'm saying is that, it is what it is. The point being is that, okay, fine. But if you look at the end result, though, he is successful. You do know his name. He's a household name, okay? And as much as people say they hate him or they don't like him, they're out there buying that Netflix thing so they can watch him. I mean, some of his box office numbers are like astronomical what they're getting paid, So is he wrong? No. You know what? If he found that niche and he's making his money, God bless him. You know what I'm saying? As long as he's not hurting people, if you understand what I'm saying, screwing people over, doing bad things to do that, then you know what? Let him run. Let him enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Let him live that life. Because in the long run, everyone wants to be successful. Everyone wants to, but you know what? You got to define your success. Is success meaning money, house, cars? No, it doesn't. Because unless you've been in the hospital and you've been on that bed and you heard beep, 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 you get nervous. And the last thing you're thinking about is your house. Your last thing you're worried about is your mortgage. You're sitting there going, man, I hope I can breathe a little better. I hope this pain goes away. And you'll see who's by that bed next to you. That's the other thing. You know what I'm saying? All your friends, they got lives to go to. They got, you'll see how many people come and check on you and stuff like that. But I've been in that situation many times. And I've really realized what's happy in life. And you know what? It really comes down to you. So success was that, like I said, if Liam can wake up in the morning, wash your face and look in the mirror and say, you know what? I am enough. And that's that word that you got to look for. You're never going to have everything. And you may have, like you said, you hit rock bottom, but you truly didn't. Because let me tell you something, Liam. You're not hooked up. You didn't take chemotherapy. You weren't on radiation. You understand what I'm saying? And you weren't sitting there with hospice sitting in your home. So you really didn't hit rock bottom. You hit an area where maybe things weren't the where you wanted it to be. And so you sat there and said, man, I got to recollect myself. And you know what? Let's figure this out. But I'm sure you sat there many times by yourself and prayed to God and you asked God and said, God, what do I do? Show me a sign. Give me something. Let me go. And you know what? God will do that. He's not going to hold your hand and pull you through something. But when those doors close on you, if you ask hard enough, he'll give a window. He'll open a window. And he won't even tell you which window it is. It's for you to sit there and sense the breeze. Hey, wait a second. I noticed there's a breeze in this room. That's coming from somewhere. I'm not totally locked in here. This is not the end.
That's
And you know
it.
what?
That's what.
That's
That's
it.
what happened.
You remember
Yeah.
that, and you found that
Yeah.
window, and you ran
Yeah.
with it. And now look at you. You're very successful, and you're moving your way up. Are you done? Absolutely not. But you know what? You can never look yourself in the face, and don't sit there and never sit there and give credit and say, you know what, Liam, you didn't quit. Liam, you didn't sit there and commit suicide. Liam, you didn't blame the world. You picked yourself up, you collected your backpack, and you climbed through that dim window, not knowing where it's going to take you. And that's the other thing. Everybody will do things when they know there's something rewarded in the back. But imagine jumping through a window and not knowing maybe you're jumping even through the wrong window. But you know what? It's a window, so let's take that chance. And that's exactly what you do. And you jump it. And that's the same thing like I was telling you. You could either write a book and find out it fails, or you cannot write a book and it's guaranteed to fail because you never had a book to publish. And so
Ah,
that's exactly
okay.
what I did with fighting. I sat there and I said, you know what? I'm gonna do something with something. And this is all I can do. I can't sing or dance, and I sure now can't write a book. You know what I'm saying? So I said, let's do this. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna develop myself these shins. And I said, you know what?
Right.
Imagine if that's possible. Imagine if you could kick somebody hard enough. Because think about it. You're still human, so you can be 180 pounds, 200 pounds, whatever, but you still can be hurt. Your bones can still be broken, and you can still. If I listen, you could be 900 pounds. If I shoot you in your head, you're dead. Nobody's
Yeah.
bulletproof. You see what I'm saying? So certain laws of physics still coincide in things. You still have a nervous system. Okay. So hey, if you get hurt or somebody stabs you somewhere, you're gonna feel that pain. You see what I'm saying? So you're still you can't you don't want to put intimidation over realization and what's real. So I sat there and said, you know what? Nobody in the world wants to get hit with a baseball bat. Think about it. You could be 200
That's
pounds, but if I hit you in the kneecap with a baseball bat, you're gonna feel it. You're not gonna smile
that's
at me.
what it's
You're
that's
gonna
what it's
feel it.
like.
So
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I'm gonna make myself as best as I can to that. So I started banging things to the point where like my leg literally went numb. And I believe that God allowed that to happen. Because normally, neurologically, if your leg goes numb, it's not a good sign. You know what I'm saying? That's not a good sign. You got to get that checked out. But my leg got to the point now where I really, honestly, on that leg, I don't feel. It's the craziest thing in the world. Like I can feel like enough. It's not like it's a fell asleep where I can't walk on it. But for just that reason of when I hit something now, if I gotta actually watch how hard I hit it because I will I will open my skin. You know what I mean? I will cause a laceration. And I've had that happen where I don't actually feel the pain of the steel or anything that I hit, but all of a sudden I'll notice my legs bleeding and I'm like, oh no, that's not good. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm sitting there with a laceration. I got to go get, or good, hopefully, luckily not that bad where I had to get stitches, but where it's definitely blood all over the place and hematoma and, a big ball of blood underneath the skin. And I'm saying, well, that's not good. But you don't feel it. That's the thing. But now it's to that point where, not only am I fast, but I have the experience of fighting with the best people. So I don't just brawl with people. If you look at some of my fights, it looks like I'm not even trying. And it's not that I'm not trying, it's I'm putting myself at the right spot at the right time. I don't exert any more energy than I need to exert. It's not a show off thing. So you don't see me doing fancy moves and high fancy kicks and moving all over the place. I move just when you're going to hit me. And if you're not going to hit me, then I don't need to move. Because why am I moving around if you're not trying to hit me? All I'm doing is wasting energy. So I don't do that. I know I'm short. I know I got little reach. So I got to stay within that area where I can hit you and just enough out of an area where you can't hit me. And
Right.
obviously, the shortest point is from A to B is a straight line, which is obviously mathematical, physics, geometry, whatever. And so I use a lot of angles to get into areas where I can get in and out. And people don't realize that, but so when you're watching on TV, you want to see these fancy kicks, you want to see these highlight reels. Well, all I have to do is land it right, though. There was an incident. If you see one of the videos, it's actually viral right now. It's over like millions of views. But I had an incident in a gym that I was working at in Tilton, and there was this guy that ended up coming in. He was about a 200-pound guy, and we were supposed to have this light little boxing match, no kicking, nothing. And all of a sudden, he started trying to take my head off. Now I'm 110 pounds. I'm playing with you, and you're sitting there trying to take my head off at 200 pounds. That's not good. That's not cool. So I said, you know what? If you want to step it up, we'll step it up. Well, unfortunately, I think he almost died because I mean I hit him and his head bounced off the car. It was bad. But the point being is, it's not like I don't have the power to put you to sleep. I don't care how big you are. I can put you to sleep. If I hit you at the right time, I'm going to put you to sleep. And that's just my hands. My feet, if you notice, you'll never see me kicking people in the head. I don't play that game because even with, like I said, the great pads that I have, HKA, um, I can hit people with those pads on, just practicing, and I've still fractured people's legs with the gear on. So That's the difference. Like I don't go all out with that leg because it's actually been God. Like I said, I don't take credit for that at all. God blessed it. Where if I hit you, it's like hitting you in a metal baseball bat. So it's really not fair. You know, if I even if you block it with your arms, I've fractured people's radius and ulnus. I've learned about the human bones just because of the doctors. Um, but I can actually bend a metal baseball bat, which is never I've never seen anybody do that yet. You know, I can actually bend it where it actually folds. You know, it bends, which is kind of crazy. I can kick telephone poles, shake them, uh, and I can the street signs. I can actually kick a metal street sign, and if I kick it enough, it'll bend and just sit there. It won't come back. So that's not normal, but you know what? I guess I'm not normal either. You know what I'm saying? But either or, like I said, it doesn't make me any tougher than anybody. It doesn't make me anything like that. Like I said, a guy that not even trained, if he hits me right and he catches me, I'm gonna go to sleep like anybody else. So I don't ever lose sight of that. But you know what? My main thing is like this. I got a person that's halfway across the world that's asking me to do an interview. So obviously something God's got out of this. And if I can do something where I can make somebody feel good about themselves, somebody that can despite all this crazy stuff that's going on in this world right now, can sit there and just smile and say, you know what, I like me, being me. That's enough for me. Because none of us can really do that if you really look at it. Like everybody wants to be better. Everybody wants something that somebody else has, or wants, I want to be like them, or I want to be Mr. UFC 3-time champion with a whole bunch of money. I really don't. I mean, you know what? If I could have anything in the world, it really would be I pray that God gives me what I need, but not what I want. Because man, based on the way the world points things at, makes wrong decisions. So if he can give me anything and everything that I need to his standards, okay, and if that means just enough food to eat to stay healthy, just enough money to pay the bills that I need to pay, and that's it, then so be it. I'll look in the mirror and I'll blessed and happy. I would take health over wealth any day, and that's
Well,
basically me.
health is wealth, though, at the end of the day. I mean, like you were saying earlier, without that, you haven't got anything. And yeah, man, I'm with you on that 100%. Wow. Okay. So you see, the instinct that I have for who I interview is proving very, very right because, it's not only the amazing fight stories, but the lessons that you're sharing that is incredibly profound. And I thank you for that at this point. Okay. We do need to talk about the next fight that you have, though, because we do need to give that a mention because we've talked about all sorts of other things, and I was thinking about that actually at the beginning because I was going to say, how many fights have you had in your titles, and then go into that one, and we went into some other things. But that's the other thing, by the way. I don't always prepare questions anymore. I haven't for a long time. I have some themes in mind. I call them themes. I have like the ideas of like this topic, this topic, this topic, and other than that. It's very much like intuition, and you can plan for one thing, and you can end up talking about something completely different because it depends on the alignment with the person and the energy. But yeah, I mean, this fight, that you got coming up, I mean, it's something pretty crazy, and I mean everything you do, and I mean that in a good way because it's something that a lot of people would look at and think, how is that even possible? Like some of the other guys you fought, and you remind me a lot, by the way, of the story with George Foreman. Where like he retired from boxing and he came back and he was like, like your kind of age, like 45 years old, and obviously he won the title again, but it wasn't about that. Like he was doing that to fund youth centers, like the youth centers that he had. He was doing that to fund those, and also he was I had the same type of thing that you said about your Street Beefs fight. Where when you read his book, I've got like a few of his books around somewhere, and in one of them he says about like a particular fight when he was on the comeback trail kind of thing. It wasn't the title, and he was hitting the guy, and he was like saying to the ref, like, "Hey, look, I'm hitting him. He's not hitting back. You've got to stop the fight." And the ref was saying, "No, no, we've got to carry on with the fight." And he had the same compassion for people. That guy's like paying his bills. That guy's doing his thing. And there was a few different things you said there. Anyway, that's off topic. This next fight you got coming up, tell us all about it, please, champ. I'd love to hear about it, and it's important that we give that a mention.
Okay. So basically, if you looked at my career in the David and Goliath, every single opponent, because now that this is number 8, so the all seven, every single one has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I haven't got a smaller opponent. I keep asking the people like maybe we could do one a little small, but yeah, everyone gets bigger. It's kind of this one here. I thought when they got this one, I said this one tops it. I was like, I don't know, I don't think you're gonna top this guy. I mean, this is I did some homework and this guy, he's almost 400 feet. I mean, 400 pounds, and he's 6'9", which is like LeBron James. That's like a big dude. Um, so it's gonna be interesting to even see him, like stand next to him. That's gonna, even me, I'm gonna be like, my God, I think I come up to his chest, not even. It's kind of weird. But either or, what I'm saying, I'm not worried about it. Well, no, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I'm not worried about it, but I look at it like, as long as I do what I'm supposed to do, then that's it. I've learned in fighting, you cannot predict a fight. Don't ever think for 1 second. Everyone comes in with these game plans. Oh, I got to do this and this. You have no idea what you're going to do because he has no idea what he's going to do. So if you sit there and lie to yourself like, oh, he's going to do this and then I'm going to get on the inside. Well, what if he doesn't do it? Then your whole game plan means nothing. So I look at it like the only thing that I control in the actual fight is me. So if I can do everything that I'm supposed to do, which means don't be in a place that I'm not supposed to be, don't exert extra energy that I don't need to do, and anytime he misses, I make him pay. And I make sure it's a solid, I make sure it's flush, and I make sure it hurts. And then I keep going. I train every day. I run 5-something miles every single day, 7 days a week. Okay. So I know that myself, my endurance is there. That means a lot because if you have no gas in the tank, no matter how good you are, it means nothing. You're going to burn out. And even the lightest shots hurt because you're burnt. You're expelled. You're done. You can't even block. You don't want to do nothing. And once you feel that you can't do anything anymore, your heart goes. And then you beat yourself. You give up. You don't even want to be there more. So, and here's the other thing is that you can't have that money motivation either because we're not making money like that here. This is almost like a deemed exhibition, type of charity thing that they do because it's not sanctioned. So you can't come, there's fine lines on how you deal with things with the athletic commissions and things like that. So it's not even about that. If you're basically surviving off your own sponsorships and how you promote yourself. That's basically the way it is. So that's why it's very important. If you notice leading up to fights, the videos and stuff like that, they're always pushing sponsors because that's what they care about. Remember, they have a business to run. So their business, like I have PJs and all these other people, I don't want to go crazy right now, but they're a coffee shop. What would they have anything to do with fighting? You see what I'm saying? Absolutely not. But what they do care about is the people that watch your sport or watch you and follow you, or people that are in your vicinity or your community. Those people are the same people that come and buy your coffee in the morning. So absolutely, that's where they care about. So you have to do that. But what I'm saying is that in the David and Goliath, you can't sit there and say, oh my God, I got to win this because I got to pay bills. If that's the case, you're not going to be successful in what you do because there's going to be a point where the pain or the dangers are going to supersede you paying your bills. And then you're going to say, why am I doing this? And if you're ever in an actual fight and that comes across your head once, why am I doing this? Then you're done. You might as well give it up. You don't have that anymore in you where you don't have the love for it anymore. You have no purpose of being there. You listen, right now, I'm not going to lie to you. I could probably make more money working at a McDonald's, serving you hamburgers at $15 an hour, making $600 a week than what I'm doing this. And by doing that, I'm not going to die. I don't think, a Big Mac's going to come down off the shelf and hit me. And I don't think, you know what I'm saying? A Happy Meal's not going to go smack me in the face. So I'm not really worried about danger in that aspect. But in this sport here, like I said, even sparring, people don't realize when I spar these guys, they're still that size. You see what I'm saying? So if I got guys that are 250 pounds that I spar with. So yes, I go in there lightly with them too because they're also human beings. They don't trust me. They don't want to get banged by my leg. So you know what I'm saying? I've actually had sparring partners that I've sent them to the hospital on accident. So I've learned also that I have to be courteous too to my sparring partners. But trust me when I tell you, they don't go all out on me either because of that reason. Because could they hurt me? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? If I bobbed when I should have weaved or I slipped when I should have done, you know what I mean? I run into a leg at 250 pounds. It's not going to be a good thing, and I'm going to be in the hospital, and neither one of us are getting paid for it. You see what I'm saying? That means nothing. So these type of fights, like this guy coming up, Grant. I don't know how the hell he found a guy this big, but whatever. Either way, 6'9", 398 pounds. Rumor has it he's coming from your area in the United Kingdom. I don't know how they found him. I mean, he lives here, but that's where he came from, I guess.
Okay.
Uh, but I've seen one or two of his little sideshow fights, and he's definitely a brute. I'm actually glad that we're not doing like an MMA because I saw one of his guys he picked up was a 230-pound guy, and he flung him around like like the guy didn't weigh anything. So I definitely wouldn't want to get into that scenario. That's going to be another reason why I'm not going to clinch with him or try not to clinch with him because you're not clinching with a guy that size. I mean, his forearms are probably the size of my legs, so that's not going to be. You know what I'm saying? You got to be realistic with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Well, with that adrenaline going and stuff like that, his strength is going to be phenomenal. And a hurt man is a dangerous man. You know what I'm saying? A scared man is a dangerous man. They will fling and if I'm on the other side of that, even if he missed me with a punch but hit me with his forearm, trust me, I'm saying it's gonna knock you around. I have guys that, like I said, that are 250 pounds, and when they punch me, even when I block it, you know what I'm saying? It will push me to the point where you feel the pressure on your joints. It actually hurts. It's not like it's not like this isn't the movie Rocky where you scream hey Adrian, and you're good to go. You know what I'm saying? You're not good to go. It hurts. Uh, but I'm gonna like I said, I'm gonna do what I know I can do. I'm 100% in good faith, as in I know if I hit him, he's gonna feel it. Okay, I kick that hard. I'm definitely gonna be faster than him, obviously, but I'm definitely not gonna have the size of him. I'm not gonna have the reach. His reach is gonna be ridiculous, and his legs are gonna be a little tricky for me because he's a big man. Um, and with that much reach on a leg, even if I block it, I'm gonna fly. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna knock me around. I have no body weight to stop him from that. I'm just hoping that if I can check his kicks, you know what I'm saying? My shin is like me. If you swung your leg at me right now and I hit your shin with a baseball bat, you're not gonna want to keep kicking me. So those are little attributes that give me somewhat that little bit of confidence. Okay, you know what? We're gonna be okay on this. And the rest of it, like I said, I just put it to God. You know what I'm saying? Now this man was supposed to fight me originally September 6th. That was the original fight we were supposed to have. And he actually said at the time he said that he needed more time to train. So we said okay, fine, because Halloween was coming around. So we're like, we're gonna make it into like a Halloween bash. So they did that and they rescheduled for October 30th. And then he called up and said that they said he had an injury to his hand. So I was like, who the hell spars that close to the fight? He called like the 3 days in, 2 days in advance. So I was like, ooh, but you know, I can't force you to fight. What am I gonna do? So we was like, all right, whatever, we'll find somebody else. We're not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna cry over it. It's not gonna get anywhere. Then all of a sudden he called back about a week, 2 weeks later. And he's like, yo, let's do this. So they locked it in for December 21st here in Atlantic City. So we're gonna do that. And it's going to be streamed live, so everybody will be able to see it. So if you follow me on Facebook or social media, YouTube, whatever, it's going to be streamed on every single platform, so everybody will be able to see it. So you don't even, if I believe, I think they're going to let this one go. What I mean by go is like you're not even have to pay for it. It's just tune in and watch. So it's there's no excuse. They're basically, I think what they're doing is they're going to get as many people as they want interested in it, because some people are not going to pay for something. It's just, they're like, why pay for it when 2 days later or a day later I can see it on social media, the results. So we'd rather just say, you know what, if you look at the UFC, when they used to be on, like, I forget what it was, I think it was ESPN and Spike, remember? And they did the Ultimate Fighter and it was free. And then they even had like the final one, that fight that was free. You didn't have to pay. It was not pay-per-view. And then finally, as they got that following, then all of a sudden they were smart enough. They started charging. So I believe that's what they're doing on this one. So I mean, you'll be able to watch it. Everyone will be able to watch it free. It's definitely not going to go long. Hopefully it goes my way, but it's definitely. I mean, I don't think I'm going 3 rounds with this guy. Because that's 9 minutes, and that's a big dude. So, um, you
Now,
know,
champ, last couple of things here, because I've lost track of time here, so I'm going to have to go fairly soon.
Yeah, no
Okay, just
problem.
so you know that. But before we do, I want to give a mention to I'm going to put two questions in one here. Okay, one of them is the people who've helped you. So like your sponsors, anyone else who's trained you, people who've helped you in different ways in your career. Okay, but also how people can follow you because you've been saying this thing about like I've heard of you all the way around the world. So yeah, I heard of you in the UK. Now I'm in Cyprus. I mean your name is getting out there all around, and it is very cool. But then that's God's plan. You see, that's part of being part of the tapestry. But then my question is also a very easy one: how do people who are hearing this story can follow you? So it's like the people who've helped you and the people who want to connect with you and get involved in your journey because you're very accessible, you're very down to earth. Let's cover those couple of things, and then I'm going to have to run after that. But we need to give those things a mention as well, please.
All right. Well, I mean, sponsors, it goes crazy. So I'll just do some. I can't remember them all. But I know I got HK, beautiful, awesome. Nick Sampson, he's actually from the UK. He HK USA is now one of the best equipment. I got PJ's Coffee Shop in Linwood. Yeah, in Linwood, New York, New Jersey. I got geez, what is it? Tennessee Avenue Beer Hall, Atlantic City, Ducktown Tavern, Atlantic City. Um, I got Lisa Classman, which also is Sugar Posh Blog. Um, I mean, honestly, I love all my sponsors. I mean, I've been hit so many damn times, I probably can't without a list. But either way, you'll see them all on a thing. Uh, Now as of like where to find me, I can make it real simple because it's hard to sit there and say at so and so and so. If you want, just Google very simply. You can put Matt, which is two T's. Okay, my name Matt. David and Goliath champion. It's that simple. Just say Matt David and Goliath champion, and it'll obviously there's so many videos posted. You can pick your own which one you want. So it'll go to YouTube. You'll see ones. You'll see Facebooks. You'll see Instagrams. You'll see what is it, TikTok, all those weird ones. So either way, you'll be able to find me. You know what I'm saying? So just put Matt, David, and Goliath champion, and it will come up. You'll find something, and then from there you'll be able to know which ones it is. But yeah, you know what? It was an honor, Liam. And like I said, I wasn't expecting this either. This was definitely an honor to have it. I hope that I do well in this fight coming up. And I hope you do well in your book. I want everybody to check out his book, and I hope you become very successful in whatever you do. And I'm sure you and I will see each other again.
Absolutely, we will. I'd love to keep in touch with you. Would love to support you in any other ways that I can. I love what you represent. I mean that sincerely. Yes, on a practical level, I mean this interview, everybody wins. I mean you're getting your name out there in different locations. I'm getting the book on my channel out there. We're inspiring people and helping people. I mean everybody wins. But
Well,
in
let
the
me ask you a
future,
question real quick.
yeah,
How, if somebody wanted to get your book, the one that you're showing right now, how do they get it?
it's on Amazon.
How do
Excuse
they
me.
find it?
It's so you search Liam Hartree, the greatness within, the live life less ordinary. You put that in there, and I can send you a link. I can get in touch with you. But yeah, it's you search my name and it comes up. But the greatness within is on Kindle, and it's obviously in the physical version as well. So you can do the digital reading, which a lot of people do nowadays. Personally, I still prefer the physical book, but those are selling more. But it's available everywhere. I'm selling copies in the USA, in the UK, Europe, all around. So Australia, I think as well. So it's going all around. So yeah, if you Google my name, this podcast comes up. You'll see it like a lot of interviews all over Google. And the book comes up as well, or contact me on social media. My handle is literally just my name, all lowercase letters, and I'll sort you out with the greatness within. But yeah, I mean, this is, we're talking about persistence. This is, 3 years it took me to pull that together with a few. There were a couple of gaps in there, mine, including when I moved here. Obviously, I stopped because I had so many other things to do, but then picked it back up, carried on. So I just hope it helps people. I mean, like what you said earlier, is this going to be on the New York Times? No, probably not. But is it going to help some people?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't even say that now.
Uh,
Always remember what I try to tell you. There's a thing called manifestation, and if believe it or not, if you tell yourself, if you limit yourself to saying it would never, believe it or not, it won't. You tell yourself it's going to be there. It's going to be bigger than that. And you know what? It will do it, because the only person that's going to stop you from doing it, think about it. If one person bought that book and it was the right person, if you understand what I'm saying, and that book went everywhere because of that person, of who that person is. Next thing you know it, you're considered overnight sensation. So listen, anything can happen, Leon. Always remember that. And the only person that's going to ever say you can't do it is the moment that you quit. The moment you say it can't happen, that's when it can't happen. You know what I'm saying? So as long as Liam says, you know what, I'm going to be the most successful producer, publisher in the world, who's going to say no? So I'm going to tell all my people, listen, I'll even read the book. So, you know what I'm saying? Everybody needs to get that book. Y'all need to see what it is. And it is the greatness within, because believe it or not, we are all great, and it all starts within you. And that's the honest truth. Okay? Don't sit there and listen to other people around you, because everybody's going to tell you you're not good enough. Everybody will tell you that. So, you know what? The moment, that's what I told you in the beginning, the moment Liam can look in that mirror and say, I am enough. I don't need anybody else's opinion. I am enough. You will become so popular that people will have no choice but to acknowledge you. Always remember that. You will put yourself in a position that even your enemies and the people that hate you, for them to even prosper in life, they have to acknowledge you.
Amen. I'm
And
with
that's
you on
the way
that,
it works.
champ. Yeah, amen. Well, that's what I'm going to say, guys. Okay, well then get your copies and help me get it on the New York Times. And I tell you what, though, Matt, I'm already working on my second one as well, so I'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, your lessons today, because that's my long-term plan, by the way. Get this one out there, build it up, build a profile, then do another
That's
one,
what
and
I'm
I'm
gonna
going to
do.
be.
After we're done with this, hit me up, and maybe I can get you where you can become one of my sponsors, and they'll push your books. We'll push your links. We'll push everything you have, and get all the people out in America to do that. Because you know what? There might, believe it or not, everybody has a niche. You just got to hit that right person. You got to get that right person. You got to get it in front of the people that do that. You know how many millions of people that read books every day? That sit there, yeah, absolutely, whether it's online, ebooks, or whatever. But there's people that love to do that. They sit around their pool, they do whatever they do, and it's their way of getting out of this crazy reality, and they live through that. You know what I'm saying? And if that's what makes people happy, they'll do it. And if you are a person that can put them in that spot where they want to be, they'll come to you, brother. Always remember that. If people go to something that they enjoy, something that takes them away from this craziness in this world. And if
Absolutely.
you have that talent, they're gonna come to you, bro. Just like me.
Amen.
Nobody gives a listen, nobody really cares about somebody fighting a giant. No one cares about me kicking poles, but it's at that moment, it's entertainment. It's something that they can say, wow, that's pretty cool. That's different. Let's see it. And that's all I need. Because then you get that message across. You get that other message across, and look, now we're pushing books. I know nothing about books, but we're pushing books.
Well, thank you, champ. All right. Well, thank you for everything. We'll have a chat about that for sure. Before you go, my last thing as well, I'm going to do a photo of us talking together. Just do a screenshot of this as well. Okay. Just so I can post that. So let's do that a minute. Okay. All right. Lovely. So I can post that and say it's coming soon. All right, then. You have a great day. Have a great Thanksgiving as well. And 100% we'll keep in touch about a lot of different things. Any other ways we can support each other, we will do it 110%. God bless you and your family as well.
You
And
say, and happy Thanksgiving.
absolutely happy Thanksgiving. And I'll send this over to you when I release it as well. And we'll keep in touch about everything. God bless you, champ, and thank you so much for your time. Absolutely awesome interview. I knew it would be good, but hand on heart, this exceeded my expectations. This was better than what I thought it would be. I really mean that, hand on heart. So God bless you, champ, and I'll speak with you soon. Okay, happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.